Welcome to this session of OpManager MSP's free training. Let me just introduce myself. I'm Hadin Sajid Lewis. I work as a product marketer for ManageEngine for about a year now. Here is a training schedule of this free training series. The training is split into two parts. Today we will discuss about onboarding and monitoring the multi-client networks using OpManager MSP. And the second session that happens on May 17th, we will talk about client network visualization and fault management. This training series is happening in two zones. One is at 6 a.m. GMT and 11 a.m. EDT on both dates. You could join whichever session you prefer based on your convenience. The recorded version of this webinar will be emailed to you by tomorrow along with the presentation materials. So let's look at the agenda for today. We will briefly talk about OpManager MSP, what it does, and what its basic features are, then the system requirements, and the installation of OpManager MSP, followed by how to onboard clients in OpManager MSP and how to perform device discovery. Finally, we will talk about performance monitoring of your client network devices. And without further ado, let's dive right in. Before getting into OpManager MSP, let's have a quick outline about managed service providers. As we all know, MSPs remotely handle multiple client networks so that the clients can focus on developing their business rather than worrying about network issues and outages. Service providers manage several client networks simultaneously, meaning they spot, diagnose, and fix network issues of one client's network without letting the other one go down. This sounds like a tedious task. That is why it's important to have a feature-rich tool like OpManager MSP to back you up. So what is OpManager MSP? OpManager MSP is an end-to-end client network monitoring solution that allows service providers to keep track of a client's network performance 24/7. With OpManager MSP by your side, you can easily foresee any kind of potential mishaps or malfunctions and fix them proactively. It also helps you gain a single pane of view over your multi-client infrastructure. Default HTTPS mode of communication between Central and your probes ensure security. You can perform various multi-client requests like changing the polling interval or updating the thresholds for monitors in bulk. You can use OpManager MSP to monitor a wide variety of client network devices such as VMwares, Zen servers, Nutanix devices, storage devices, etc. You can also deploy client-specific views in addition to the global view and ensure that you have in-depth visibility into your multi-client infrastructure. Next in queue, we have the architecture of OpManager MSP. OpManager MSP serves the needs of every managed service provider with its probe central architecture. Let me explain how central and probe works. The central server acts as a unified console which synchronizes data with multiple probe servers. The central server is designed to provide network visibility across locations, consolidate, and report the health of multiple remote networks. The probe server acts as a polling engine. It monitors the routers, switches, firewalls, servers, and other networking devices for faults and performance. It generates availability, health, and performance reports. The probe server periodically synchronizes data with the central server to stay updated. This is all about architecture. Now let's move on to software and hardware requirements. We require an Intel Xeon 3.5 GHz, 4 cores, or 8 threads or higher processor. OpManager MSP supports both PG-SQL and MSS-SQL databases. PG-SQL comes bundled with the product. And we need a hard disk with a minimum space of 100 GB for central and a minimum of 40 GB space for the probe setup. And the RAM requirement is a minimum of 16 GB. OpManager MSP can be installed in both Windows and in Linux operating systems. These system requirements mentioned are the minimum requirements for the specified number of devices. The sizing requirements may vary based on the load, And you can visit the link provided at the bottom of the slide for more information on the requirements. In addition to meeting the software and hardware requirements, we also have a list of port requirements to be met. The protocols such as WMI, TCP for discovery, and SNMP, Telnet, etc., to monitor device data collection requires these ports here mentioned here to be open for easier installation of the tool and to seamlessly monitor your client network devices. Again, you can visit the link provided at the bottom of the slide for more information on the port requirements. So once the hardware and software requirements are met and the required ports are open, you are all set to install OpManager MSP. The first step is to download the OpManager MSP Central exe file from the website and run the installation wizard. Provide your location, and as discussed a few slides back, you can choose either PGSQL or MS SQL as your preferred database. No additional configuration is needed for PGSQL, whereas to configure MS SQL, follow the steps provided in our help page and ensure the port for MSP Central is not in use by any other process or service. Followed by installing OpManager MSP Central setup, let's see how to onboard our client's network via probe. The first step is to download the probe from the official OpManager MSP website, or you can also download it from the Central UI. OpManager MSP allows you to add any number of client networks to your Central and multiple probes to a single client. You can add the customer and the probe details on the Central UI without much effort. The other important step, which has to be done during the time of installation, is to download the probe key zip file from the web client and deploy it in the probe setup. The probe key is unique for every client. This is to have a secured communication between the probe and the center. You can choose between PGSQL or MS SQL database, but if you choose MS SQL for your central setup, the same option has to be chosen for the probe setup as well. You can toggle between multiple customer networks you have added easily with the help of the drop-down option provided in the central UI and access the preferred data. So let's see how this looks in the product. So click on inventory. So click on the customer drop-down over here. So as you can see, all customers have already been selected. So let's go to settings. Under configuration, click on customers. Now click on the probes tab. And as you can see the number of probes listed here. Once you add a probe key will be generated here. You can deploy it in your setup for secure communication. Each probe key generated is unique. So once the center and the probes are installed, we can move forward to the next step, that is user management. So user management in OpManager MSP allows you to create individual user profiles for the members of your NOC team and provide them with corresponding access privileges. This helps you avoid the use of an external identity management tool, and it allows you to grant or revoke access and set up security restrictions, allowing you to essentially enforce role-based access control. There are three user roles in OpManager MSP, namely administrator, operator, and custom user. The administrator role has unrestricted access to perform read or write operations in OpManager MSP. They can add or remove devices, troubleshoot issues, change configurations, and more without any limitations. On the other hand, an operator has read-only restricted access in OpManager MSP. They can be granted further access by the administrator. You might be wondering, what about custom users? Who are they? Now, a custom user is someone whose level of access varies across the different modules in OpManager MSP. The admin can set up a custom user role and provide different levels of access, such as read or write, read only, or no access. For example, you can give a user access to only discover devices, meaning that the person can only add devices in OpManager MSP, or reports with read-only access, meaning the person, excuse me, meaning the person can only view those particular probes reports and so on as per your requirement. In addition to user roles, OpManager MSP also allows you to specify user types, wherein you can select if the local user is a local user, an Active Directory user, or a Radius user. So let's see how this looks in the product. So let's click on settings again. And under general settings, click on user management. And you can see the previous users that have already been added. You have the admin, and you have the custom administrator, you have the MSP operator, MSP administrator, and so on. So to add a new user, all you have to do is click on add user. So just select the role, select the user type, enter the username, email ID, password, and so on, and select the device customers to associate with this user. Now, like I said, we can add new users, be it an operator or administrator according to your requirement, and we can give them access to required records of clients or probes, or only the specific modules, so that they won't be able to access all the data. By doing this, we can increase security. But to do that, first, we have to create user roles. So let's click on the role tab. And if you click on add role, you have the name, description, and under common settings, you can see the modules like general settings, discovery, dashboard, and so on. All you have to do is select the checkbox and click save to add a user role. So before we move on from user management, let's also take a look at password policy. So what is password policy? A password policy is a set of rules designed to enhance security by encouraging users to employ strong passwords. This is another possible defense against password guessing, and by enabling account lockout, your account will be locked out after the specific number of invalid or failed login attempts. So you can see that different rules here. You have rules like minimum password length, you have the ability to enforce password history, you can ensure that the password won't be the same as the username, and so on. So let's move on to the next slide. And now, post the client user management setup, let's discuss discovering the client's network. We will see how to discover devices in client's network in our probe setup. Before we do that, we have to get our devices and the credential list ready, which is essential for the discovery process. OpManager MSP can use the credentials during the discovery process and add devices successfully. In OpManager MSP, we can create client-specific credential libraries and run credential validation tests now and then using the test credential option. So let's take a quick look at the setup and see how this is done. So let's select a probe first. Let's click on settings. And under discovery, click on the credentials option. So you can see the credentials that have previously been added. So to add a new credential, all you have to do is click on add credential. So you can see the different type of credentials that can be added. You have SNMP v1, v2, v3, WMI for your Windows devices, and SSH for your Linux devices, VMware for your virtual devices, and so on. So just enter the profile name, provide a description, enter the SNMP community, and click Save to add a new credential. Now, if you want to associate credentials to devices, just click on Associate. So let's select this credential. And all you have to do is select the devices and click on Associate to associate this credential with this selected devices. Now, you also have the option to test credentials. Just click on the Test Credential option. Again, just select the devices, click Next, provide the notification details like your email address, and you can also choose to schedule when the credential should be tested. So if the credentials are wrong or expired after discovering the device, OpManager MSP will not be able to access the device and hence cannot pull the data for monitoring. This will restrict OpManager MSP from monitoring the particular device. However, the status polling of the device will continue. And this is why this is precisely why you run the user test credential options to make sure the credentials are up to date. So let's run the presentation. So once the credentials are configured and ready, the next step is to discover devices in your client's network. So let's see how to do that. This network discovery process in OpManager MSP can be done in just a few steps, and it saves us a lot of time and effort. Not only that, OpManager MSP gives you multiple options to discover your client's network, making the process much more feasible. You can take advantage of client device discovery features to discover devices. Interface discovery, as the name suggests, can discover interfaces. With Op Manager MSP, we can also schedule discovery and we can get a detailed view on the discovered devices via reports. Then we have device templates and finally the discovery rule engine. So let's dig a little deeper into these listed features. So the first topic is client device discovery. We can discover devices in bulk by specifying the IP range, and we can also import from AD or CSV. Besides this, we do have dedicated device addition option to directly add storage devices, virtual machines, etc. App Manager MSP also has a discovery filter option which lets you discover only a specific set of devices, leaving out the rest. With the help of powerful add or ignore mechanisms, we can choose the devices which have to be added or ignored, as in some scenarios, we might not need all the devices to be discovered and monitored. So let's see how this works in the product. So let's click on settings. So to add a single device under discovery, click on add device or server. As you can see, all you have to do is provide the device name or the IP address, select the credential, select from existing credentials or add a new one if necessary, and click add device. And Op Manager MSP will pull and discover that device. Now, if you want to add devices in bulk, now let's go back to settings. So under discovery again, this time let's click on network discovery. So as you can see, you have the options like discovery rule and discovery report. But right now it's look at network discovery, click on new discovery and just provide the name. And as you can see, you have options like to discover devices through IP ranges, subnets. You can import them from an Active Directory or through a CSV file. And again, select from existing credentials or add new ones if necessary. You can choose how you want to discover your devices. So all you have to do to ignore unnecessary devices is click on the want to ignore devices option. So you can choose to ignore devices. You can choose to which type you want to avoid it by. You can from IP range, IP address, category, device type, device name, and so on. And all you have to do is enter the IP range in this case. Click add, and Op Manager will avoid those devices during the discovery process. Now, Op Manager also has a dedicated discovery option for interface discovery. This feature lets you specify device and interface criteria, you provide conditions, and discover interfaces in just a few minutes. Also, we have a feature which lets you identify and discover interfaces that are connected to a particular device. You can decide which are all the interfaces that need monitoring and leave out the rest, as not all interfaces require monitoring. So let's see how this works in the product. Let's click on settings again. And under discovery, click on interface discovery. So as you can see, you have the device criteria and interface criteria. So let's pick the device category equals pick server, the add option. So you can choose to match any of the following or all of the following. Now let's select interface criteria, select interface speed. So let's click on add again. So once you click on discover and import, OpManager will pull interfaces belonging to this category and add it to be monitored. So let's go back to the presentation. And now we're going to look at device templates. So what is a device template? Device templates are nothing but an XML file that is preloaded with device details, just device type, category, monitoring interval, and more. With device templates by your side, you can classify a device under a specific device type, like a device model, and it will automatically be mapped to its respective device template, which reduces a lot of configuration time. You can associate the necessary performance monitors to devices during the process of device discovery itself. With this feature, you can also make the configuration change and apply it to several devices at once. Essential performance monitors are also available based on the object identifiers provided by the vendors and can be associated with the devices easily. There are about 10,000 device templates. OpManager MSP allows you to customize your own device template or modify the existing ones. Let's take a look at how it's done in the product. So let's click on settings, and under configuration, click on device template. So you can see the existing device templates over here listed. So to add a new template, just click on add template, enter the name, provide the vendor name, select the category, provide the OID, and you can choose to query the device. You can add any associated monitors by clicking on add and click save to add a new device template. You can associate device templates with devices. So let's say I choose any of these, enter the template name, select the available devices like I showed you before, and just click on associate or associate and override. So let's go back to the presentation. And now we're going to talk about Discovery Rule Engine. Discovery Rule Engine is one of the key features that makes discovering and monitoring devices a lot easier for an MSP. Let me give you an example. When your admin wants to associate notification profiles to all the routers in your client's network, it would be tedious, isn't it? If we had to go to every device to associate notification profiles manually, with Discovery Rule Engine, that problem can be resolved. Notification profiles will automatically be associated to the required device. All discovery rules with the status as enabled will be applied for discoveries. So let's see how this can be achieved in the product. Let's go back to settings again, and let's click on network discovery and click on the discovery rule tab. So you can see two rules that have already been added. So just click on add rule. So provide the name of the rule, the description. So you can select the criteria, the condition, and you can select the action. Now let's say I'm want to associate a server with a notification profile. All I have to do is enter the criteria as server equals, and I associate it with a notification profile. So that's all there is to discovery rule engine. So this marks the end of the discovery features. So the next topic of this webinar is going to be network monitoring. In OpManager MSP, We have many options to let you perform monitoring seamlessly. The main aim of this monitoring client network performance is to ensure the client experiences no network downtime. Monitoring network performance helps you anticipate potential outages and address network problems proactively. OpManager MSP has a huge inventory of predefined monitors. And of course, it allows you to monitor your client's network devices and interfaces irrespective of its vendor. It also allows you to monitor the devices in bulk by associating threshold violations based monitors, meaning whenever there is any violation of the threshold value set, a notification will be sent to you. Apart from the default monitors present in OpManager MSP, you can always create your own custom monitors to suit each of your client's requirements. So let's see how every monitor works. So the first monitor we're going to look at is the availability monitor. Availability is one of the basic and fundamental requirements of all network administrators. This is an essential of all network administrators. This is an essential parameter that lets you check the health of your devices, which is crucial to monitor any infrastructure. This efficient tool will help you monitor the health status of your client network devices using ICMP or TCP or SNMP protocols. The availability is monitored frequently at regular intervals. You can also set thresholds for packet loss and response time. So let's see how this looks in the product. Let's click on inventory. So let's select a device. So under the device summary page, you can see the dials that show availability and packet loss and the response time. And under the device summary column, you can see details like the status, the IP address, the DNS name, and so on. Let's move on in the presentation. So in the next slide, we have performance monitors. OpManager MSP's predefined performance monitors help you, excuse me, help you take control of your excuse me, client's devices by setting up device-specific monitors to drill down on any particular aspect of a device that you want to monitor. OpManager MSP can monitor various network devices that are reachable from OpManager MSP server and any parameter that is configured with an SNMP credential. For example, when it comes to routers, OpManager MSP is capable of monitoring parameters such as active ID sessions, buffer failures, IP routing discards, CPU memory usage, etc. Likewise, for switches, OpManager MSP monitors the memory usage, utilization, and more. OpManager MSP is also capable of monitoring L3 devices as well, like a firewall and its parameters like firewall CPU usage, concurrent users, active VPN tunnels, and much more. Printers have evolved in such a way that they can be connected through a network. With OpManager MSP, you can monitor printer parameters such as paper jam, toner levels as well. And to view the performance monitors, let's go to the product again. Let's click on invent. Anything. Let's click on settings. And under monitoring, you have performance monitors. So you can see all the monitors listed down below. So if you click on the monitor, you can see details like the OID, the interval, and threshold details if necessary. So you can also choose to add monitors by clicking on add monitor. So you can add SNMP to bulk or WMI details as well. So let's go back to the presentation. And now let's move on to virtual and Nutanix server performance monitoring. OpManager MSP provides intensive agentless virtual device monitoring to enable effortless performance management of your VMware devices. With OpManager MSP, they can monitor VM performance metrics like CPU ready time, CPU wait time, memory balloon, network, disk, data store, etc. You can also monitor hardware metrics such as sensor, power temperature, voltage, and more. OpManager MSP relies on the VMware API protocol to accomplish this. We currently offer support for Dell and HP vendors, and this list is surely expanding. You can also monitor your client VMware events like any inventory changes, like VMware being migrated from one VM to another, a new host being connected, any new VMs being powered on or off. All such events can be captured. Finally, arriving at the reports, we have exclusive reports for all your virtual devices. We also have sprawl dashboards that sprawl their own virtual maps, considering all the virtual devices discovered. So let's see how this looks in the product. Click on the virtualization tab. Select. So let's select vCenter. You can see details like the number of hosts, the VMs, and the data stores. And you can see the monitors that can be associated with this vCenter, like performance monitors, service monitors, URL monitors, process monitors, Eventlog monitors, and script monitors. And as I had said, we do have reports as exclusive reports for your VMs. So let's see how those look. So you have the virtual servers report over here. So as you can see, you have the details like the VMs by CPU, VMs O under allocated, over allocated, by memory under allocated, memory over allocated, etc. So let's go back to the presentation. And now let's talk about services and Windows Service Monitoring. Any Windows service that runs in the background or any particular service can be monitored with this monitor. And in case those Windows services go down, you can automatically restart the service or restart the entire server with the help of OpManager MSP's Windows Service Monitor. And then we have service monitors that are nothing but TCP port monitors. The main difference between Windows Service Monitor and Service Monitor is that Windows Service is running on the server directly, whereas the Service Monitor is going to check the TCP port's availability and check if the particular service is up or down and alert you accordingly. So let's take a look at how this works in the product. Let's click on inventory again. Let's click at select a device. So under the monitors tab, you can see the options like the service monitors, the Windows service monitors, and so on. So just click on add monitor to add a new service monitor. And in case you want to associate an existing monitor to this device, just click on associate monitor. The same goes for the Windows service monitor as well. Go back to the presentation. So followed by them, now we have process monitoring. Process monitoring lets you keep a close eye on the CPU being used by the processes you are running. So you can monitor current active processes running on any machine. CPU, memory, and status of that process can also be monitored, such as whether a process is down or if it is up and running fine. You can set the thresholds for all your critical processes, and you can even kill any processes if they seem to be an unwanted one from OpManager MSP itself. So as I told you earlier, so let's go back to the device again. Let's click on monitors. So under the process monitor tab, any process monitors associated with the device will be listed out here. So let's go back to the presentation and let's move on to script monitoring. Script templates can be used to monitor a specific client metric for which you can't find a standard SNMP or WMI monitor. Now let's say you wanted to monitor the expiry dates of SSL certificates that sit on your servers. They can now be monitored with the help of SNMP. For those requirements, you can go ahead and use script templates. You can write your own script in any of the languages like Python, VB, Perl, etc. And those scripts can be directly imported in the tool and executed to get results. These scripts can both be executed in local as well as remote machines. Output formats of these scripts should be in a predefined model like the ones displayed on screen. So let's see how this looks in the product. So let's click on settings and under monitoring, click on script templates. So you can see the previous script templates that have been added. And again, to add a new script template, click on add, enter the name, description, the monitoring interval, enter the script details, the timeout, and enter the threshold values. And if you want to associate a certain script template with devices, all you have to do is click on associate, and like you've seen previously, select the devices, click associate to associate a particular script template with those devices. So let's move to the next slide. So after script monitoring, let's look at trap processes. OpManager MSP offers a comprehensive and scalable SNMP trap processing solution. OpManager MSP waits for SNMP traps from devices on the default port number 162. This can be changed as per your requirement. So it automatically acts as a trap receiver, and based on the trap processors defined in OpManager MSP, the traps are processed and shown as alarms. So you can create rules to pass client trap messages into meaningful alarms. So let's look at it in the product. Let's click on settings and under monitoring, click on SNMP trap processors. So you can see the trap processors that already exist in the product. You have stuff like authentication failure, ban status, shutdown, and so on. So if you want to add SNMP trap processors to OpManager, under the actions dropdown, click on add. To enter details like the name, description, the trap OID, the severity, and enter the match criteria using warbinds. So what exactly are these warbinds? So let's say if a warbind equals critical. When the warbind is off to the critical state, this particular trap processor will automatically be rearmed. You can view all the traps using the trap view option and trap alarms via trap alarms option. You can restrict the number of alarms that are being processed by OpManager from a particular device by going to trap processor settings. So all you have to do is click on enable trap processing, enter the trap port, and below you can choose to limit the SNMP traps by either failure component or by devices. So let's go back to the presentation. So another important feature that we have is Syslog Monitoring. We know that syslogs are similar to trap processors. In the syslogs, we listen to default ports 514 and 519, which are UDP ports. These ports can also be configured according to your requirement. You can create syslog rules based on severity, excuse me, name, etc. You can even forward syslogs to other NSM tools. You can check the rate of syslogs which is being received by OpManager MSP, and you can also view whatever syslog is being received by the tool at any point of time. So let's see how this looks in the product. Let's click on settings, and under monitoring, select syslog rules. So you can see the number of the rules listed here. You have failed logins, critical mails, mail emergencies, and so on. So these are the syslogs that have already been configured, similar to tracks. You can add new ones by clicking on add. Just enter the rule name, description, severity, match text, number of occurrences, and the rearm facility. And you can also view syslog ports, and you can also check on the flow rate. Let's go back to the presentation. And next in line, we have file and folder monitoring. OpManager MSP also has the ability to monitor your client's files and folders. It helps you understand the existence of files and folders. You can find out how long a particular file or folder has been sitting in a particular directory. You can also monitor shared folders. Size, count, and age of that file can be monitored. Configure the thresholds to make sure if that file or folder is exceeding a certain size, you can get them limited. You can even search for a particular string in the entire file and get notified if it is missing using an agent. Let's click on this feature in the product. Let's click on inventory. So let's select a device. And let's click on the monitors tab. So you have the file monitor over here. And all you have to do to add a file monitor is click on add monitor. And you can associate monitors with this device as well. And here you have folder monitors. The same principle applies here as well. It's all about that feature. And now let's talk about URL monitoring. So you can monitor the availability and response time of critical client URLs. You can import URLs via CSV. You can match the content from the URL and get alerted if the string is not available. You can also monitor URLs by passing a client's proxy by providing the proxy server details. So now, next, let's talk about event log rule monitoring. When talking about event log rules, with OpManager MSP, it monitors the program's security and systems events which happen on Windows devices. You can just gather the event ID, category, etc. from the native tool event viewer and create a rule in OpManager MSP to pass those events. You can monitor custom events using custom event logs. The level of severity for alarms can also be customized. So let's see how that looks in the product. Let's click on settings. Under monitoring, let's click on event log rules. So you can see the rules that have already been added in the product. And to add a custom new rule, just click on add on the add option. So you have the name, enter the rule name, the event ID, the source, category, user, and description match text. Select the event type and enter all the other details and click save to add a new rule. To add a custom rule, just click on add custom event log rule. Enter the authentication details, the password, and you can choose to query the device as well. So let's move on to storage performance monitoring. So what are the storage metrics and how are storage devices monitored? The features we have for the storage devices are we monitor the management of RAID, tape library, and storage capacity forecasting. You get to monitor the FC switches in the storage department. OpManager supports all vendors and the respective devices that are listed on the screen. Apart from this, we try our best to add more support for storage devices with every release. Talking about reports, there is a dedicated report for storage monitoring. To know more about the list of storage devices supported in OpManager MSP, visit our help page. If you have a new device, you can let us know and we work on supporting that as well. So let's take a look at our next topic, which is WLC monitoring. Wireless LAN controller monitoring is a newly added feature in OpManager MSP that allows you to monitor WLCs across multiple vendors. This is another licensed module inside OpManager MSP that allows you to gain in-depth information on traffic usage, that is, the data transmitted via different wireless and wired network components, and their signal strength, authorized and unauthorized Wi-Fi connections detected by your access points will be listed out as SSIDs and root devices. Detailed information on the health and availability of your access points and active clients across your network can be obtained. Besides all these capabilities, exclusive WLC reports are also available. So let's explore this in the product. So let's click on the network tab. Under that, select wireless. If you select device, you can see the under the device summary, you can see these details. You can find the number of interfaces, the NCM, and the number of monitors associated with these devices, as usual. Let's go back to the presentation. Now, this marks the end of this session. On behalf of ManageEngine and team, I thank you all for your presence